Right, so let's move on to the controller itself and let's start demystifying controller. Let's see what controller really does. So if you remember from the WP template hierarchy that if you hit a certain endpoint, that endpoint WordPress internally looks for a certain template and basically load that template for you, right? I believe in Sage 9 starter theme, what controller does really is it's a way of binding that controller to that endpoint. So for example, if you were to declare certain functions or you were to declare certain data in that controller, it automatically becomes available as blade variable in that particular template, which is already loaded by WordPress through its template hierarchy. Okay, by default it comes with the app controller, and that means that its data is basically available everywhere, okay, in the Sage 9 starter theme. Now if you were to browse to an endpoint, let's say about us, right, so / about us, that means that if you have a template called page-aboutus.php, in this case it will be page-aboutus.blade.php. So what will happen is that your controller, it should be called page-about-us. Okay, so I can see there is a bit of a mistake. It won't be about-us.php, but rather page-aboutus.php. So you just need to make sure that you declare your controller name exactly the same as your template name would be. Okay, and now so let's move on and have a quick look at a few examples. So if you look here, this is where your controllers are mapped to the templates. So the controller will map to the different endpoints using the WP template hierarchy as we talked, and the data becomes available to relevant templates as sort of the blade variables, right? So for example, if you had a template page-aboutus.blade.php, the controller for that page would become page as in Pascal case, right? So the first letter of each word becomes capital as page-aboutus.php. Again, page contact us.blade.php become page contact us, and the same with the custom post type. In fact, let's have a look. I will bring up my Sublime and let's see. So if I were to go and look for whatever page, and I have a template which is called page whatever .blade.php. Now the controller for this endpoint, let me just correct the spelling there. Okay, so the controller will become page as in Pascal case whatever, yeah, .php. Okay, now if I were to say, let's just make a quick class here, and obviously it will extend the controller, which comes along with Sage Starter 9 theme. And if I were to say public function random message, let's call it, couldn't come up with another intuitive name, so that's fine. And if I were to say return, this is a random message, now in your page whatever blade.php, you can actually access this variable as random message, right? So it will basically make sure that whatever public functions that you have, it will go ahead and make these functions available in your Blade template, but rather in camel case. So that's something I saw a lot of questions about, people having a problem in accessing variable. Just remember that if you go ahead and, if you were to declare your variable like that, so what it will do, that it will go ahead and make it available as a snake case. So this style is called camel case, right? And in your Blade template file, it will become available as a variable, but rather in snake case. So that's probably one of the things that I was trying to debug, and then I realized after reading the documentation, which always help. But but yeah, that's about it really, right? And we will see how this plays out and how it helps you to sort of separate your loops, and how it helps you to separate your logic, your business logic, from the view files in the controller, so you can do your business logic rather here and pass the information down to the template file, where you just have to, Vue just receives these variables, doesn't do any heavy lifting. Views remain sort of naive, and then you can output the information as you want. Okay. And again, I have put down the slide. We've already talked about this. Blade basically is a template language which is used in Laravel. So they have, Sage 9 have incorporated that templating language, and it's quite powerful. Have a quick look around if you're not aware of the Blade templating language. And it's very powerful. Along with everything else, Blade template files get cached. That means it helps with the performance, and the loading time is quite reduced, because whenever you ask for certain template, it's loaded from the cached version. You do have these two directives that, if you're not sure what sort of data you have available to you, debug and dump. They're quite useful and helps you to debug, if you have declared certain thing and it's not becoming available, or you can't access it. If you write the keyword debug in your template file, it will basically debug everything, that what sort of controllers are bound and what sort of data the template is expecting to receive. Okay, so that's pretty much about the controllers really. So let's move on to our editor and let's start playing with the controller and sort of have a quick run through of the Sage 9 starter theme. Okay, and then from the next lesson we will probably do something a bit more custom. We will go over creating some custom post types. I'm sure we will come up with something, right? Just to make the whole idea a bit more clearer. Okay, so let's move on to my editor, and I've already loaded the theme. Okay, the My Portfolio theme. I've already loaded that. Behind the scene, I have already set up the Sage starter theme as the the default theme here. Okay, so if you come here and have a look, and I've already activated the Laravel mix theme to be my chosen theme for outputting the information. So if I were to go there, okay, so I've already set up the permalinks and things like that that you would do, right? So that we get some pretty links rather than page is equal to some integer, right? So that's just a setup. I've done a bit of a setup behind the scene. Didn't want you guys to watch what I was doing. However, the goal is now that we will create a custom page, right? We will then create the controller, and then we will see if we get access to the data that we would declare in the controller, right? So that's the fun part. So what I will do here, I will create a page, and that will be, let's call it page about us, or in fact contact us, or anything really, right? It's up to you. I'll just call it okay, and we will extend. So now what I'm trying to do is I'm instructing the blade that, look, I'm gonna give you some content, but can you take that content and put it here, right? This yield content. So whatever, you know, when I extend this app parent and I give it a section of content, it will go ahead and replace this with the content that I will give. Okay, so it will become a bit more clear in a minute. So if I say section content, great, and here what I will do is I'm just going to create a class, and for now make it leading normal, right? So the paragraph, there is so they're not very tight, the line height. Leading normal, if you look at the Tailwind CSS, leading normal means that line height, the normal line height, right? Okay. And I will also, what else can we put? For now, I think that should be enough. Okay. And then we will go ahead and create a page. And I will call this contact us. Okay, and let's just get some lorem ipsum, always helps. Okay, let's get this. Come back. Too many tabs. Okay, and lorem ipsum. I will publish that. Obviously, you can do other things that if you want to, as you would normally with a traditional page. But now if we look at it, so that is going to be our, whenever you hit this route, if you have, obviously if you remember from the WP template hierarchy as we talked about, is if we do have a page contact us, then WordPress will go ahead and it will load that page for us. So if I were to say hello, we should be able to see hello here. Good. So the template hierarchy is kicking in. What we want to do now is, we don't want to, for example, say get post, right? And I don't know if we were to, you will basically, in a traditional sort of way, you will go ahead and say while have post. If there is a post, while there is a post, then you will set up the post itself, and then you will end the if statement and the while statement, and then the if statement. There's just, you know, right? Okay, great. So now that we are in the blade file, let's first of all get the debug. Let's see what sort of a data already we are receiving, right? Because as we talked about the fact that we are getting the information from the app controller anyway. So that means that we do have, if you look here, we have an object coming through the post object, which has already been done. So if we were to look at the post, go ahead and run the post, right? And let's see what do we get. There we go. So that means we already have access to the post, right? Which is cool, because what I could do now is I can just simply say, so if I were to say h2 and where do I get the title? Does it give me the title? Yeah, it gives me the post title here, right? So if I were to say, sorry about that, post and post title, okay, and then I don't have to, because you got to remember that the content itself, the body of the post, it's not just a simple text, but rather it's been saved with all the markup. So we will just output it without doing anything, and that means that it will also bring in its own markup, you know, from the way it's been saved, right? So if I go ahead, there we go. That's cool, right? I don't know about you guys, but I'm quite excited about this. This is really nice. And I can say that's give me some padding of 5 and make the text large. In fact, let's make it extra large. Okay. And if we go ahead now, great. Somehow, oh, because I need to run, obviously I need to run the yarn command to watch the files for me if I am changing any styles and stuff. But that's okay. We will leave that for another lesson. But the point is that you've got now the post available to you. However, if I wanted to, I could, you know, put some information. As I said, the app.php file becomes, anything in here becomes available to you, right? So the site name, for example, current template. So here you can get everything that you want. Or if you wanted to, you can create another controller, right, for your contact us page. So the way I would do that is, or the way it should be done is page contact us. Okay, so that's matching up to, you know, the file that we created, right? And if we look at it here, so page contact us, in Pascal case it becomes like this. I will simply go ahead, extend the controller. Okay, and here what I will say, public function, and I will say author. Let's get some, you know, something. Okay, and I'll return get current user, which again is not really the author, but I'll just say user. Okay, and that means that if I come back, if you've done everything correct, we should have access now. So let's do debug again, which is a cool command because it gives you information what sort of a, you know, a variable you are expecting to come through. Well, there we go. Okay, so the user is coming back as string. Okay, so let's have a look. So if I were to say user, there we go. Great. So that's how you know, get the information. So if I forgot, so if I were to go back, and if I were to say public function, and I don't know, contact us random message, right? And here we will just return something random about contact us page. Okay, let's go back, and then here what I could do, if I want to retain the markup as well, we will say contact us random message. Okay, there we go, something random about contact us page. So that was a quick run through about the theme, particularly how controller is bound to certain templates when that template is bound to certain endpoint or the URL. So now that we've had a quick look at controller, now that we understand a bit how controller works, how controller can be bound to a certain template when you hit a certain URL, how it doesn't override the traditional WordPress hierarchy, and how you can have access. We looked at debug, all the cool stuff. So that was a quick run through. what we will do that from next lesson, we will actually start building some custom post types maybe, or come up with certain scenarios, and then dedicate 2 to 3 lessons to sort of each section, and that way it will give us a bit more chance to play around with, you know, Laravel Mix, how that's going to help, how the controller plays out. We will look at some certain traits, they call it components. We could even look at, you know, having some interfaces, right? So all the good OOP stuff. I am very excited, and I can't wait to start playing around with the Sage starter theme now that all the introduction is out of the way. So I will see you guys in the next lesson.